All right, yeah. Welcome to Original Geek. It's the podcast for anyone who rolled dice in a basement, waited hours to download comic covers over dial-up, and proudly wore that label of geek back when it was a target and not a trend. We're going to dive deep, really deep, into what it meant to be a geek in the 70s and 80s, and how does that compare to the mainstream world we live in today? We are two of the Gen X survivors who didn't just watch geek culture evolve. We lived through every awkward phase. Hi, I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, and we'll be your warp drive on today's interstellar jump.
Nice. Because today we're going to talk sci-fi. And the biggest topic to start the science fiction journey, Star Wars or Star Trek?
An age-old debate.
So I think we can see, for those of us who are, so I know this will be some video, some audio. If you're not watching the podcast and just listening to our dulcet tones, Mr. Shaw has a Star Wars T-shirt on.
Yes, it's actually for the Walt Disney World weekends, Star Wars weekends. So got one of those in. Yep, at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Never got to go on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Couldn't, when it was open, shell out, I don't know, I think it was like $5,000 for 3 days. 2 nights.
$5,000 for a 3-day weekend.
I just, at the time, and even today, could not swing that.
Yeah,
but man,
that's
that would
a
have
Jeff
been cool.
Bezos level trip right there.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, we're going to be talking both Trek and Wars, but I've only been to the new MGM. I call it the new MGM just because we only get to go. I guess it's Hollywood Studios now, right? That's how old it was. MGM Studios at the beginning. But we went to Star Trek area and walked through the Millennium Falcon and saw Chewie and Darth. Actually, we did see Darth Maul, but we saw. What's the other guy with the red stripes on the helmet? And listen, you're messing with my geek. You're leaving me to swing. Han Solo's kid.
Oh my God. This is sad.
All right, I was thinking maybe we cut this out, but we might have to. This is why we're old geeks. We are original, but OG is also old geeks.
Yes.
Anyway, we saw him walk through, and I'll put it on screen at some point.
It's Kylo Ren, but does he have a Darth name as well? Does he have a Sith Lord name?
I thought he did. Maybe it's just Kylo.
I thought
Kylo maybe
Ren.
I'm blanking on something that didn't exist. Someone will tell us. At some point in time, someone's going to get comments or an email and go, "You idiots! It was obviously Darth X."
Just for the listener, I did really enjoy those last 3 Star Wars films. I know it was divisive, but I saw them only once, so I didn't rewatch any of them. And the same is true with the prequels. I only watched them once. I've seen the original trilogy many times.
The prequels were a mixed bag.
Yeah, well, but that generation, millennials, that was their Star Wars. So for them, that was a great trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's still and has kind of, with revisionist history, done well.
I don't know that Husa Misa is ever going to be. Yeah, I don't know if Jar Jar is ever going to be retconned. One of the cooler add-ins was using some of the original footage from the original Star Wars that they had dropped because they had Jabba the Hutt as just a big fat dude, and they redid that with the CGI. And in the so that's the kind of CGI stuff I liked them doing, but creating Jar Jar seemed, granted, it was groundbreaking. There weren't any other CGI characters, but there might have been a reason for that.
Yeah, I know. But and just so the audience knows, even though I've taken Star Wars as the position in Geek Court later, and I do have more Star Wars paraphernalia, but I love Star Trek. Star Trek's awesome. So
Don't suck up to the Star Trek people now. Don't listen. Look at you trying to.
No.
Oh, you don't waffle. Pick a side, man. Look at you.
I know. I just for Geek Court I will. But
Okay.
for right now, I do think Star Trek is awesome too. It's just incredibly different.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the appeal, right? Because Star Trek, as much as it's about intergalactic war most of the time and crazy creatures like Klingons and the Borg and the Gorn, right? It has a hopeful view of the future where Earth was in turmoil and blew up, and then what emerged was this federation that, we got technology enough that everybody could be provided for. There was no inequality because there was no resource needs. Very positive, very, very forward, and in Star Wars, it kind of goes the other way, where they're still more grimy. There's still more insidiousness, and it's interplanetary.
Yeah, and of course, Star Wars fandom can be crazy. So when I say this, they're probably gonna get ripped in the comments. But Star Wars is an adventure story. Star Trek does something that I love that good sci-fi does, which is really make a commentary on our own society. Yeah. So you're watching it, and you should be learning lessons. Now, clearly, people aren't all learning those lessons, but that's in a similar fashion. The Orville. I don't know if anyone has watched that. Highly recommend the Orville. I know this is a Star Wars episode, but the Orville is another version of Star Trek. It really is. Like, it's episodic, and it often has social commentary. Like, there's one episode of that is, a society fueled by likes. So, and you actually have a button you can like or dislike someone. I mean, and that's like, could not be any more clear cut a commentary on our current society.
And I totally agree. But I think the real charm of the Orville, it's what would Star Trek look like from the left a little bit. Star Trek was always the big shot of the bridge crew and the huge things and the Orville brought it down to earth. Like, I think they even made fun of it in one of the first episodes about how there's a bathroom, because the running joke is they never show a bathroom in Star Trek.
Right, yeah. And
it was funny. Seth MacFarlane's, he's a Rhode Island boy. He Family Guy, American Dad, all that. He's funny.
Yeah, and they, once again, like you're saying, more down to earth, which is weird in this space show, but meaning like that it had like people making choices and decisions that
were normal,
like you can really identify with, like when they were using the replicator to create all kinds of weird stuff for oh man, who's that guy, the one that eats everything. They're like, oh, would he eat this? Would he eat this?
Yes. Yeah. I forget the character's name, but yeah, they're replicating food as a gag, not because they need food.
Right. Good stuff.
So that's the deal today. Trek versus Wars. It is, of course, a sci-fi episode, so things like the Orville and stuff we'll dive in. But I think it's time to look backwards a little bit, Jeff.
Oh, are we in a geek flashback?
Let's take a trip through time. It's a geek flashback.
All right. So what is one of your flashbacks? What is your sci-fi?
So I actually think about the action figures, and I was thinking about this, and I realized, like, I had 9 GI Joes. We had GI Joes. So boys is very much gender. Like,
oh yeah,
boys had their GI Joes, girls had their Barbies.
You got to remember we're in the 70s and 80s when gender norms were all there were.
And it was awesome to get all these action figures because like we could keep those stories going because you know, we didn't have all this content. There's so much content right now. I'm behind on content. Like there's more Star Wars and Star Trek, you know, shows that I could be watching and need to get caught up on. But at that time we got to see our movie and that's it. And the action figures let us keep reliving that or create new content. One of my favorite characters is Boba Fett. And I looked it up because it was like, you know, Boba Fett really wasn't in the movies very long. It was 2 minutes between 2 movies. 2 minutes of screen time of Boba Fett. That's it. But he's such a cool looking character. And I just loved my Boba Fett action figure. And I remembered he got to go on a lot more adventures because I had those action figures. So for me,
what was
it's the action figures.
The quote was great too. Boba Fett. Boba Fett. Right. I don't know how many times Boyd said that throughout our childhoods. You know, Han Solo's coming out of the deep freeze. They're going to throw him into the sand monster. And Boba Fett shows up and all you hear is Chewie go, Boba Fett, Boba Fett. That's all we heard.
So that was me. Action figures.
I like the action figures. I do. For me, it was the first time watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. I was in the Army at the time, and I had a lot of time between things that we needed to do. So I would go to my bunk. Had this, you know, I want to say I was in Korea at the time, and we had a Quonset hut. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Look what those are. Look them up. It's literally just a tin kind of. It almost looks like an aircraft hangar, but much smaller, of course. And so we didn't have rooms. We just had bunk beds or beds laid out, and we had wall lockers separating our spaces. So the guy across from me and I both built a table and put TVs in a barrier so we could have a little bit of privacy. And I just sat on my bunk and watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. So it was sort of comfort food for the soul, if you will. So that's one of the reasons why I think I probably look very fondly on Star Trek, because it was a piece of home when I was in a foreign country. You know, I was 18, graduated high school. 10 days later, I was in basic training. By the end of that year, I was in Korea. You know what I mean? It was it was a culture shock. So Star Trek got me through a little bit while I was over there.
Wow. I have to admit, sadly, I was one of those people I've been warning in our 2 rants, the first 2 episodes, not to be. The kind of the hater. And when Star Trek: Next Generation first premiered, and I didn't watch it, and for 2 reasons. One, I was like, oh, not the original. So I was being that guy, which
Purist.
I'm telling everyone not to be anymore. So I was that guy. And I have to admit, I thought Geordie LaForge's banana clip visor looked dumb. So I'm like, oh, that looks dumb. You know, once again, judgy, douchey. That's who I was about it. So I don't want to be that guy anymore, and I recommend no one else be that guy.
It was, you know, that's okay. That's what we were. It's good.
The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court.
All right. So the question again is, which franchise had the biggest cultural impact? I think we could say they're both still impacting because they're both still going. But to this point, I think we know which way you're going to fly in your X-Wing off to hang out with Yoda.
Yes.
But tell us why, Jeff. Why Star Wars?
So, Star Wars, all the numbers are in Star Wars' favor for being the more impactful franchise. The value of the Star Trek franchise is at $4 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? I mean, we have to agree. $4 billion is a ton of dough.
Wait, did you
That
say
must
Star Trek
make
or Star Wars?
Trek.
Trek
Star
has
Trek
$4 billion.
Has $4 billion.
Look at you. I see what you're doing. You're baiting me in here because
That's
Star Wars, it's a
amazing.
very big number. So now
So-
roll it out.
Yeah, so Star Wars, you're thinking like 10, 20, 30?
No, it's like 8, 7.
$70 billion franchise.
Star Wars.
Star Wars is $70 billion. So, I mean, the numbers are there. The merchandise outsells Star Trek.
Well, let's be
merchandise.
honest. $69 billion of that $70 billion is merch.
We have theme parks with Star Wars.
Wait, are they counting theme park attendance in their $70 billion?
Hey, it's got to. It's all part of the franchise. So,
Well, that's another debate for another time. Do you count?
and then
Where does the franchise end?
Disney has the Star Wars, franchise, and the streaming numbers are higher for Star Wars than Paramount Plus's Star Trek stuff. So
I did just finish watching season 5 of Star Trek Lower Decks, their animated series. Definitely worth a watch. It sounds like I have to go through it a second time. Apparently, I'm looking. This is the second week in a row I'm talking about having to bring up streaming numbers by myself.
yeah, and finally, an actual religion.
All right,
That's
now
right.
you lost me. This is
Being a
new
Jedi is an actual recognized religion in New Zealand, and you can get kind of ordained online to become an officiant for weddings in the Jedi Order. So it's an
Okay,
actual
even I had
recognized
never heard of
religion.
this, so this is awesome because I have never heard that you could actually become a Jedi
Yes,
master.
it's a recognized
Is
religion
it-
in
what-
New Zealand.
So what is the title? Like I've seen people become an ordained minister. They use like a generically religious term, like minister or deacon. Like that's a term used by multiple religions. And I actually have a few friends. One of the comedians I used to work with, Tim McIntyre, actually got ordained specifically so he could call himself the Reverend Tim McIntyre, because he truly was considered a reverend.
Yeah.
So, do you know? Are you doing a live Google?
I'm doing a look.
Live
So,
Google alert.
Jediism. Oh, my poster fell.
Wait, did your Star Wars poster fall while you were defending Star Wars?
Yeah, I know. So clearly, I got to give it up.
I think.
So there are the adherents. They're called adherents, and but I don't see they're having different titles other than being adherents. And they have 21 maxims, which I haven't looked up, but they're guardians of peace and justice. So
I mean, I do like Guardians of Peace and Justice. I'm not going to lie, but that's a new one for even me. I did not know that.
yeah. Oh,
Well,
it's also registered in Texas in is IRS tax exempt in 2015. So
wait, so in Texas, you can be a
I need to
tax-exempt religion of Jedis.
Yes. Yeah. So I think I'm going to need to, to do that.
All right, here's a question. Now, this is going to come long before our real segment on this, but if you guys are interested in going to Texas and starting a chapter of Jedi religions with us, we can buy a ranch and we'll all live tax-free.
Yep.
What do you think?
There we go.
The downside is you have to be on the podcast. So, I said it before. I got to go pro Trek. The hopefulness of Trek, the positivity in general of the idea of the Federation of Planets. They always had conflict. Of course, no show would be good without conflict. But maybe the numbers aren't the same. But I feel like the message is, I mean, if you want to talk a parallel to today, what can we use today in this world in 2025? Positivity, outreach, adventure, exploration, cooperation between species and different, you know what I mean? The idea that everybody can get along in this one, under this one umbrella of the Federation, it's a beacon of hope. And when I watch Star Trek, even the goofy little side, going back to the Next Generation, where every once in a while they show them all playing poker around a table, which is another fixation I have, but probably for another podcast. But the idea that they even then could be, just human and always looking for the best in each other. It may be cheesy, but I have to admit that Jodie LaForge's banana clip was a little foolish those first couple of years. I think they had a really small budget. But wow, I mean, a lot of the stuff we do today, kind of was predicted. Smartphones. We have yet to do tap to talk on our chest with communicators. But remember, the original Star Trek had the flip phone, essentially.
Yeah.
And they, now they tap. And this is a note that came up in some stuff I was looking at. They also had on the TV show between Kirk and Uhura, the very first interracial kiss. So they were breaking social boundaries in the real world.
The very first interracial kiss ever?
On TV.
Oh, on TV.
On TV.
All right.
Also, I guess you could consider the first interplanetary kiss because he kissed a green chick at some point too. I think one that was made of vines. Kirk was sort of a loose captain. But yeah, obviously maybe not the same numbers theatrically, but I like it better.
Hey. Yeah.
Tell us which side you believe in.
So nice. I got to give you a virtual hug, buddy.
Don't. No, we're in
It's
court,
so
man.
So
Damn
cute.
you! I'm gonna get Judge Yoda. Now that would be a show, like Judge Judy, but it's Yoda.
Yeah.
Guilty or not guilty? You are. No, I can't do a Yoda. Before I get all the comments and emails, I know it was a shitty Yoda. Sorry.
Well, there was no try. It was do or do not, and you did not.
I did not. Absolutely. You want to take us into the next segment here?
Yeah, I say we dig deep, because let's get some basement treasures.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
I do admit, although this is scary to think of, my basement treasure, I didn't have to dig as deep as I've done in the past because it's more recent. But it is 26 years old, which makes it pretty deep for some of our listeners and viewers.
So what is it?
Galaxy Quest. And I know.
Oh,
it's a Star Wars,
damn you.
Star Trek.
Damn you.
Know. Oh, is that yours?
No, but I love that one. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
So
26 years?
Yeah, so it came out in 1999, and because I was like racking my brain for something that maybe Star Wars or Star Trek that people didn't know. But what you might not know, viewer, listener, is of Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest is a satire on Star Trek and the whole Star Trek conventions and these actors that play essentially the Star Trek characters. Tim Allen is essentially Captain Kirk, and Sigourney Weaver is kind of Uhura because she talks to the computer, talks to the ship, and the ship talks back, and it's all all communicated through her. Sam Rockwell is the red shirt.
Oh my God!
He does an awesome job. Alan Rickman is basically Spock. It's so good. Anyway,
Rickman's sort of a cross between Spock and later Worf, I guess, because he had the alien.
Yeah. So it starts with, and basically the concept is that their TV series Galaxy Quest has been sent out into space, and eventually this alien race views it and thinks it's a documentary because they don't lie in their culture. They don't know how to tell an untruth. And so what they think they're watching really happened, and they desperately need help. So, because they're not fighters, and this aggressive alien race is coming to annihilate them. So they need the Galaxy Quest crew. So they go to a convention and abscond with the crew, and it's hilarity ensues after that. So highly recommend Galaxy Quest. Even if you have seen it, rewatch it. It stands the test of time. It's fantastic.
That's a good one. I admit I didn't dig because I think, and this might be a cheat, so I'm sorry if you think this is a cop-out because I just finished watching it. I'm going at Basement Treasure in the sense I don't know that it got a lot of viewership, but the Star Trek Lower Decks, I avoided it at first as much as I love Star Trek because I thought, it's an animated show, and it's horrible because I'm trying to be a voiceover actor. Like, that's exactly what I should be watching. But it was charming and fun and lighthearted, and it actually reminded me a lot of the Orville because they took an approach to Star Trek of literally from the lowest level officer, the ensigns who slept in a bunk bed in a hallway, who got the worst crap and, had the worst attitudes. And if you've never seen it, go watch Star Trek Lower Decks. I don't know that there's going to be a 6th season. Last thing I read said it was not, but definitely worth digging up and watching from the beginning. They're only like 25, 30 minutes long, so you can binge. Heck, I think they're only 10 episodes. I mean, in a couple hours, you can watch an entire season. But it's just a lot of fun. And they very coolly interweave like characters from the shows. So Riker shows up. The leader from the Deep Space Nine, I forget her character name. Nana Visitor was the actress. And so Will Wheaton comes in as Wesley Crusher. So they like weave in characters from the real shows. There's even a crossover with the newest Star Trek show with oh god, it's like
Strange
one of the
New Worlds or Discovery.
No, the New Worlds with pre-Kirk, but with like a young Spock. And they do a crossover where the characters who are Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome do the voices. They show up, they do like an animated opening, and they jump into this time vortex, and they show up in the time of that crew, and to them they're historical heroes. But they actually bring Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome, the real people, in as their animated characters, and they're really on there. It's not like they did a mix. And so it's a very cool episode. So they really blended, and I love crossovers. So to me, it was just like the pinnacle. So watch Lower Decks. That's my thing. It's not a basement treasure, but it's definitely I think an overlooked Star Trek property.
Well, I think that's okay because my basement treasure, although 26 years old, was not Star Wars or Star Trek, which is what this episode is all about. But Galaxy Quest would not exist without Star Trek. And your is not in the basement. It's on the first floor, but it's still a treasure.
Yes.
So,
but things change over time.
Yeah. Well, and then you did say 5 seasons. So the first season, that's 5 years ago. That's in the basement for some people.
Yeah, that's true. Some of these people
I think it works.
Might live in a basement.
I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
That's all I care about. That's all I care about. We're going to get haters. It's not an old thing.
Well, speaking of haters, I think it's rant time, right?
No. Don't jump over.
What?
We have to talk about how things have evolved.
Oh,
in our geek evolution.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
True. I skipped the evolution.
You did.
Sorry.
Don't skip evolution. We're all going to be ancient dwarfs.
Yeah.
So there's this theory that when J.J. Abrams rebooted Star Trek with Chris Pine, that it got cooler. It's still Star Trek.
It did have the Beastie Boys Sabotage, which is pretty darn cool. So I agree. I know it also got criticized by the purists, which, like I said, I used to be. So when Star Trek: The New Generation came out, I'm like, it's not Kirk. But I loved it. I thought it was great. It was, and I think I mentioned this, like, one of the reasons why Star Wars might be more commercially successful is it's an adventure more than a potential commentary on society, or a thinker. Because I think Star Trek is generally more thought provoking, whereas Star Wars you can set your mind aside and just go for the ride. And I think
Literally.
some criticism of the J.J. Abrams was that it was too Star Wars like, whereas I thought it was awesome. I felt like it really it did make Star Trek interesting to a new generation. And I think a lot of the success of the Paramount shows, which I love, are because of that J.J. Abrams reboot. And you can see it. I mean, I think they were really influenced by the kind of J.J. Abrams look.
Yeah.
Because they look more like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. They're episodic now and closer to that with Star Trek, but classic Star Trek. But I think that was really an important reboot.
In Star Trek terms too, you go all the way back to the original. It only ran for a couple years in 63 to 65, I think, with Shatner and Nimoy and all those great actors. But again, on a shoestring budget, definitely, the uniforms were, super basic, and the sets were very even. I remember seeing a Gorn for the first time, and it was just a dude in a Halloween mask, but we wanted it so badly to be a real thing. Now I can't say I wasn't alive when the first Star Trek came out, but because I think it was 63. I wasn't born until 69.
Right, but when we were kids watching it, we didn't know we were watching reruns.
No.
We thought we were and they didn't, like, those effects were still good until Star Wars came on, and Star Wars Industrial Light and Magic talk about the evolution of special
science
effects.
fiction. Yeah,
Like,
we got to talk. We're gonna have a whole episode, I think, at some point about special effects and the evolutions of there at some point.
Yeah, but the Star Trek special effects, I mean, even then I was still, like, it didn't throw me out of the show because they weren't Star Wars special effects.
No, we talked about it in the last couple episodes too, and we'll probably refer to it a lot, but there were things that just didn't exist. So the idea of a science fiction show of a spaceship, if you said to some kid today, hey, there's a new spaceship show coming on TV, they go, oh, cool. Right? Because there's like 100 of them. There's Battlestar, and they're all good, or most of them are good. But like The Expanse was great, Battlestar Galactica, like there's all these great shows, right? We can talk about them all at some point in time. But when you go all the way back, in Star Trek, the original Star Trek was only out for 3 seasons, but it made so much of an impact that it kept running, and it brought all of us along. And I really think Star Wars happened the way it did because Star Trek laid the pavement, right? It was really bringing a genre to life. I remember seeing, I don't remember if it was a Charlie Chaplin thing, but there was an old movie, like a silent picture, and it was like a really bad animation of like a rocket ship hitting the moon. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah, it's one of the first science fiction films.
Right. It's
Trip to the Moon.
So
it's
is that
French,
what it was called?
so whatever the
Moon?
French title would be.
But it's we didn't have a lot of choices. Again, we keep talking about it's an embarrassment of riches that most people don't understand. There's a reason to appreciate. I don't want to jump on an old rant, but I think they really do dovetail in. And don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars too. And the idea that I could walk through I assume it was supposed to be a village on Tatooine, and see the Millennium Falcon and see these suited characters walking around. Really immerse yourself. My daughter and I got to fly the Falcon. She got to be the pilot. I got to be the gunner in that ride. But it's evolved from rubber-faced Gorn.
Yeah, and Star Trek, what I love about its evolution is that it just keeps getting better, and it was the way I saw it was always different. And whereas the movies for Star Wars, the original trilogy, was basically recreated in the prequels, and it's like they tweaked it a little bit, but I mean the formula was pretty much the same. Yeah. And then really recreated in this latest trilogy, the Rise of Skywalker and all that. It was pretty much the same as the original trilogy, just little tweaks, but
a new
very
hero,
much the
heroine.
same thing. The Star Wars TV shows have gone in some really interesting directions. Andor's awesome. Some of the other like one-off, like Rogue One, which I know is part of that whole Andor experience,
The Mandalorian
storyline. Even the Han Solo movie, which I know got ripped, but it's still a good movie, and at least it's different.
Right.
So, whereas I think Star Trek has always, I love it's always, always doing kind of new and interesting things. So
nice. Well, hopefully they continue to evolve so that we can have new content and new stuff to watch. I think it's time to get on to our we were starting to call it a message to the new generation, but it's really just the original Geeks ranting.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
Yes, the OG rant. Because some of our messaging, although, it seems like it's to the new generation, but I know for a fact that there are Gen Xers out there who need this message too. Maybe some of you boomers, I don't know, but certainly Gen X and younger.
Just go gentle on the boomers. They're frail.
Yes. So, do you want to rant first?
Oh, no. The pleasure is all yours.
Okay. All right. So, my rant, I already referenced it before, was for the Acolyte. So the Acolyte got canceled, and it was because of viewership numbers. But now and I know we said in our one of our earlier episodes, we have to pay with our dollars. But when it comes on a streaming service, how are we paying for our dollars? Viewer numbers. That's the measurement. So I just strongly feel that Gen Xers, younger, the people ripping on that show online caused some of that lower viewership. And, people did want a sequel. It wasn't meant to be a one season show. It had some of the best special effects, really did some really cool and interesting new things with Star Wars. We're just talking about how they're always redoing the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Well, these were different characters. They were different sabers. There was different effects and things that were happening that were different. And unfortunately, this is a rant for the me's of I was with the next generation. Just because it's not what you're used to doesn't mean it's bad. Give it a chance. Yeah. And then even if you were to be a bit critical, which we are, don't discourage other people from watching it. If you want another season of something, encourage people to watch it. Tell them, hey, I got some problems with this, but please watch this. I want season 2. So I think they just ripped it for the sake of ripping it, and then it died. So,
yeah. I do feel like this is the get off of my lawn segment of the show. Cut the crap, stop being a jerk about stuff. Listen, here's my rant. Own your shit. Whatever it is. If you're a Star Wars guy, if you're a Star Trek guy, girl, them, whatever you are, however you want to identify both as a person and a geek fan, own it. Don't don't shy away from, part of this for me is this catharsis of, I'm not hiding anymore. I did a podcast with a friend of mine, probably 9 or 10 years ago. He tried a failed comedy podcast, and God love him. It was two of my buddies at the time, but it was just another comedians interviewing comedians, right? And it was fun. But at the time, and again, only 8 or 10 years ago, he knew I was a D&D guy. And there's a song, I forget who it's by, called D&D, and it's D&D, and the guy's just singing about playing D&D. And I was embarrassed that they played it as my intro. Because I was like, I don't know if I want because it was this thing of, can I really be a comedian and a D&D guy? It's the reason I wrote the original joke we've talked about once or twice that brought us to the place we are today. But it's like, no, be who you are. Don't worry about it. There's too many other stupid things going on. Don't hide your geekiness. Wear it with a pride. That we are so out in the world about everything else, but it somehow seems geekiness still seems to get covered up. I don't want to try to compare it to anything too real or too big, but the idea of living who you are. I said it about Dave, I think, in our D&D episode. You got to be who you are. Don't worry about it. So that's my rant. Don't hide. Share your opinions. Be strong in them. And if people don't agree with you, that's fine. They don't have to. You know what I mean? Nice. We can just be who we are. Jeff and I are the best of friends. Like I think you said earlier on in one of the episodes, we've been friends for more than 45 years, something like that. We met when we were teenagers. Yeah. We don't always agree on everything, but we have fun and we are who we are. So that's my rant to you. Don't be weak. Be an OG. Even if you're 15, be an OG. Be strong. Nice. It's okay. Maybe you're an old soul G. Maybe you're an OSG. That's too many letters. All right.
Nice.
So we're jumping into more things we love and hate.
It's critical hits and epic fails.
All right, hit me with a critical hit.
All right. So you actually kind of referenced it with the crossover with Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds. Yeah. For anyone that was like me, where you loved the original Captain Kirk and those episodes, and maybe you haven't gone back into Star Trek since then. Maybe you're like me, like, no, it's not the original.
I'm not.
Make this your entry. Start the Strange New Worlds brings that back. It's that those classic. This was pre-Kirk. It takes place. So this is Captain Pike. If you're a fan of the original, you know who Captain Pike is. Yep. He was in the first episode and became like this melted thing in a wheelchair, and this lump in a wheelchair. And it's his. So it's a prequel, but it's amazing and highly recommend. So that's my critical hit. Do you got one?
Yeah, I mean, I won't dig too deep because I've talked a lot about it already, but Lower Decks, it was such a surprise. I really went into it, as you guys will probably find out, and Jeff already knows, my family are early to bed folks. I have 2 daughters and a wife. They're in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock most nights. I stay up till midnight, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So I will just start watching stuff just to be like passing the time. Like I'd ran out of a show I was watching, and I said, screw it. I'll start watching Lower Decks. And I was completely blown away. Obviously, I've talked a lot about it today, but completely won me over. Super, super fun, simple, light watch, easy watch. There's no deep meanings. It's just fun and fun characters and great acting, which more than you would expect for an animated show. How about that?
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Gonna watch it. I'll jump on fails first, and I said it earlier. Man, friggin' Jar Jar Binks. I couldn't. He looked rubbery. He talked weird. I don't even know who the actor was who voiced him. That poor bastard. But Husa Misa, like it was just a sing-songy. I don't even think I need to say more than that. I couldn't do it. I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I get that. For me, and I'm very glad that this didn't end up really destroying the franchise, but it destroyed for a time the original Star Trek, the Final Frontier. So the last movie made with the original cast without the Next Generation cast as part of it, or them joining the Next Generation cast in movies, because that did happen after, and they'd pop up into the Next Generation shows and other TV shows. But the Final Frontier ended with they're encountering God,
Yes.
who needs a spaceship, and
Yes.
what I read later about this, because it basically, it was so dumb that it just killed it. And what I read, and there's this ancient device in Greek theater, because in Greek theater a play had to be resolved in a 24-hour time span, and sometimes they did what it's called Deus Ex Machina, God in the Machine.
God machine.
And a little like God coming down, swinging from the rafters and pointing, and finishing everything up. So solving the problem or ending the problem in some way. And then
We would call
essentially
it the
this
cop
is what,
out today.
and so what I read was that they ran out of budget. Like they were spending way too much, and they hadn't finished the film. So in a rush, they essentially Deus Ex Machina, literally, because we'll refer to this sometimes when something magical or amazing happens that's unbelievable and it resolves the problem. This is literally God coming in, and
I never heard that.
And so that's what I read, is that the budget just wasn't working out, so they didn't get to end it the way they wanted to. So I always wonder, like,
All right, now I have to ask: did you find out what the ending was supposed to be?
No, like I was just thinking of epic fails, and for me, that was an epic fail, and just remembered that small detail. But no, I didn't do a deeper dive. I know.
We'll have to find
I owe you all to do my research.
No, that's
time.
okay. I didn't know if in what you found you had seen the alternate, because if I can find it, we'll post it. So we're wrapping up the end of another episode. So if you're still with us, if you've been with us through the first couple, thank you. We are stacking these up. If you've done or been talking about podcasts, we're a few weeks ahead, so these will come out in the next couple of weeks for us. So thank you for listening. Thank you for interacting, sending emails. But we're at our Ask an OG, our final segment for the night.
Ask it.
So, I mean, I think the pretty obvious question is, which side here are you on? Are you a Star Trek fan, or you're on the wrong side of things? I think that's pretty.
Or do you hate life? Do you hate joy?
And because I love them so much, how do you guys feel about crossover episodes? Whether it's a character crossover, whether it's a whole world. Jeff just talked about how the original cast jumped into, the Next Generation. I talked about it a little bit on the Lower Decks. I love crossovers, obviously. I've said it like 9 times. What do you guys think? What do you got, Jeff?
Yeah, so I agree. It's I know it's not ask, but I just a plea that you don't have to decide. You can love them both. I know Steve ripped on me earlier because I said I love them both, and I do. But I mean, as far as influence, Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, once again, thanks for joining us. Check us out across all social media. We'll be putting links in bios. We will have the webpage up. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, join the conversation. Something you want us to talk about that we haven't hit. We hit some pretty broad topics in the first few episodes. We're going to be going back to each genre over time. We'll probably go back to fantasy for the next episode, but we'll dig into some other topic a little more deeply rather than a generic D&D intro. We had a great conversation, but we'll start digging into other topics. Something you want to hear about? Let us know. We'll chat.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell Jeff why he's wrong about it.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
Have a great night from me, from Steve Scarfo.
And Jeff Shaw.
See you on the other side.
Original Geek.